An already big Northland business now plans to add 32,000 square feet to its facility and hire hundreds of new employees. Yanmar Compact Equipment in Grand Rapids just announced the massive expansion. Northern News Now's Rob Coles was there today learning about the impact those jobs will have and whether the city's prepared to handle the influx.
2023 is already a year of change at Yanmar Compact Equipment in Grand Rapids.
Adding 32,000 square feet onto the east side of our building.
Yanmar manufactures excavators, compact track loaders, and many other forms of equipment. Its expansion will house a new powder paint system, freeing up space in their current facility, which will increase production and create more than 200 jobs.
It'll really enable us to add some additional assembly capability too, and that's really where a lot of the jobs that we'll create will come from.
Yanmar President Tate Johnson says they're targeting recruitment efforts towards workers who appreciate the Grand Rapids lifestyle, and the impact of these new jobs will be felt throughout the entire community.
It's everything from the hospital system to the restaurant system to the tax base. It touches anything and everything in our community.
Local real estate market is no exception. A couple hundred workers and their families moving here to the Grand Rapids area could make a tight housing market even tighter. Mitch Kellen is broker-owner of Coldwell Banker Northwoods Realty.
I was looking at, in our entire county right now, there's only 49 single-family homes for sale.
With hundreds of jobs coming to the area and so few homes on the market, Kellen is hoping for a housing solution.
Some kind of development of some sort that has some rental housing, that might be something too that we could really use.
Kellen says these new workers will be an asset to the area, and Johnson agrees.
This is pretty darn exciting when I think about it, and over the course of my career, I don't know that I've been as excited about it as I am right now.
In Grand Rapids, Rob Coles, Northern News Now.
Yanmar plans to break ground on the expansion this spring. Meanwhile, Representative Spencer Igo serves the district in the Minnesota House. He says he's excited for the expansion and hopes other businesses move their operations there as well.